hello. Finally I found myself on Facebook. It's always like a half a minute of anxiety of, oh, I went live on the phone and can't find myself on the computer. Hi Siamara, hi Julia, hi Dawn, hi Barb. Natalie, nice to see you. Hey Trisha. I got your iced tea. I don't have iced tea, I've just got a bottle of water today. So yeah, I won't forget the powder tool. I've actually got, I've got to show you. Oops, I'm just dropping stuff all over the place. I just got an order in just this morning, got delivered by courier, and I have the new rabbit hole powder tool. So I'm going to try that today for the first time. So yeah, looking forward to playing with that. Excuse me as I just glug some water. Hey Brienne, hey Dawn, hey Yvonne. Nice to see everybody. Welcome, welcome. All right. So today, as you can probably figure out, we're going to be making this card, but as always in my lives, I couldn't possibly just make a card exactly the same as what I've already made, because I just don't do that. I very rarely make two cards identical to each other. So I'm going to change it up just a little bit in a couple of ways. So with this card, when I first made it, you can see it is a trifold card, which that's the first thing that is not like me at all, because I don't do interactive or fun fold cards very often at all. Very rarely do I do that. Second of all, it's unusual for me because when I started doing this card, I had a completely different idea of where I was going to go with it, and it just sort of evolved in a completely different direction. So it didn't actually turn out exactly the way I would have liked, mainly because I did heap embossing on just Nina Solar White, and then I did watercolouring on Nina, and Nina isn't really designed to take water. So some of the colours in here just did not blend the way I wanted them to blend. So yeah, I wasn't entirely happy with that. The third thing that I wasn't that happy about with this card is that, well, with a trifold card, usually you have basically one card that's that piece there, right? And that's that one there. And the second one is that piece there. With this one, the actual coloured piece here with the daisy on it is a third piece because I mucked up. So this is actually 2 pieces of card thick. So I'm going to try to do something different today. Hey Karen, hey Brandy, nice to see you. Yeah, it still looks okay. I mean, I'm not that upset with it. It just didn't turn out the way I wanted it, that's all. So we are going to try try something different, basically. And what we're going to do differently is, instead of using, I'm going to use like one card panel for that one, and that's just ink blending with one of the new stencils from this month's release. The other panel, which is that one there, I'm actually going, you might think, oh, you could use watercolour paper, because if you weren't happy with the blending that you got here, use watercolour paper instead. However, there's embossing on it, and this particular image has lots and lots of fine lines. And if you've ever done the watercolour paper that I use, which I absolutely love, by the way, is Canson watercolour paper. I don't know if you can see that. It's a different cover in America. So in Australia and in America, they have a different cover art on the Canson. But it's Canson Montval medium cold press. And I sometimes use Fabriano, but not very often. But when you emboss onto that particular watercolour paper, that watercolour paper has some texture. So it's quite hard to get a really good impression for embossing. So I am going to use Strathmore Bristol instead because it's smooth. It takes water well, so you can watercolour on it, but it's smooth, so we should be able to get really good embossing on it. Now, it isn't quite as white as the Nina, I don't know if you can see on the screen actually. Yeah, it looks kind of a little bit grey up against the Nina, but I mean, you're not going to notice that on the front of the card anyway because I'm going to do all the watercolouring, so it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, I suppose I could make the whole card with Bristol, but I'm not going to do that. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this down so that it is... Yeah, it's always nice to sort of play with different types of cardstock. Now, I think I will score it now. I was debating, the other thing I was debating was if I stamp this whole image, it would of course go onto the back of the card, right? And that would be interesting. However, because it's going to have a fold line in the middle, fold lines with score lines and embossing don't mix very well, because when you score and then fold when you've already got embossing there, the embossing will crack and then it'll start breaking off and it'll just be messy. So I think I'm going to do it the same as this, where I'm just going to have the image on the front of the card but not wrapped around on the back of the card. So, sorry, I'm over explaining myself, aren't I? I'm just going to check. Yeah, I thought so. Most of my cards are 4 1/8 wide, so I was just double checking that I had the right one. Alright, hello Sue, nice to see you here. And I'm just going to cut off a bit of this. Actually, I'm going to fold it and just cut the excess off, so I have just a standard size card but made with Bristol instead of with my usual Nina. Okay, so I'm going to do the front of the card first and then we'll do the inside of the card, looking for my bone folder. So, what does everybody think of the new release from Picket Studios? Got some really fun Easter style cards and Easter style stamps in this release, which is really cool. Just to let you know, I'm going to be using the Barberton Daisy, and some of you may actually recognise this because this stamp is not a new release from Picket Studios. It was released, I think, about 2 years ago. It was very early on when I was on the design team. But what is new this month is the coordinating die. It's packaged upside down. So, yeah, previously we didn't have the die to go with it, so that is new in this release. But I'm also using this stencil, which is called the Cobblestone 6x6 stencil. There's also a Cobblestone Slimline stencil. And yes, this does look like cobblestone, but to me, chocoholic me, what I see is the pattern that you get on Easter eggs. You know those old-fashioned, I don't know, for those of you in Australia, you might remember those old red tulip Easter eggs that you used to get when we were in primary school, and they always had this kind of pattern all over the Easter egg. So this, yeah, I will always see Easter egg with this stencil, even though it's meant to be cobblestones. Anyway, but I mean, it's just a cool pattern, so you can use it for anything, really. Okay, so what do I need? I need my... Because I'm dealing with a huge stamp, I am going to have to use my regular size MISTI rather than my mini MISTI. Yeah, Drunk Bee honeycomb, yes. A honeycomb that's got pentagons instead of hexagons. That's just weird. Alright, so I want... Oops, it's stuck on the outside of my MISTI. I'm going to want this to take up most of the front of this card. I might not necessarily get the placement right compared to the previous one, but that doesn't matter because we're making a different card. I also think I'm going to change up the colour on this card just because I feel like it, basically. Alright. So we'll get that in there. And because I am going to be doing some white embossing with white embossing powder, I'm going to use Versamark. And just make sure that's stuck. And I'm going to use my new powder tool. Brand new. Just got it this morning. Like literally And I usually, it's funny, I don't usually use powder tool when I'm embossing white onto white. It usually doesn't worry me that much. But I'm not going to throw away an opportunity to use the new powder tool, quite honestly. So I'm just... Is it coming out? Yeah, you can actually see it in the middle coming out. Alright, I'm just overdoing it. And it's just like the Picket Studios blending brushes, in that the brush itself is just so soft. But you've got to resist the urge to actually pat it all the time, because that kind of defeats the purpose of an anti-static paddle tool. You don't want to get all the oils from your hand all over the brush, because that kind of ruins the point. Alright. So I'm just making sure I'm inking this stamp up really well. Actually, I'm going to stamp it twice, just to be sure Okay. And no, I don't have one of those those pressure tools that people use. They've got all sorts of names. I've heard them called Chucky tools. I've heard them called Debbie tools. I don't have one of those. I just use my dry rag to make sure I'm pressing all over. Alright, I am going to stamp one more time just to make sure. Just to make sure. So even though this release is an Easter release, I mean, the card that I'm making today is not really an Easter card at all. And how many of you actually make and send Easter cards? I generally don't. Easter cards are not really a thing in Australia. So yeah, I don't really usually make Easter cards. Didn't stop me making Easter cards for Big Offense, because, I mean, all little Easter bunnies so cute. But yeah, how many of you actually do send Easter cards? I'd be interested to know. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to leave that for the time being. Come back to it later. Ah, we've got a scrapbooker amongst us. Yeah, Brianne, I go completely crazy with Christmas cards. And you are absolutely right. Making cards and sending cards, completely different hobby. Also, collecting card making products, card making supplies is a completely different hobby to card making. Alright, okay, so I've got a really good impression there. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on the screen, but I can see that I've got embossing powder. I've got a little bit of glitter in my embossing powder. Okay, that's off. Good. Alright. Now, if you've seen one of my lives before, I know that you're all holding your breaths collectively so that I don't spill embossing powder in my lap again. And I appreciate you thinking of me. I'm such a disaster. I'm just so clumsy when it comes to... The other day, I don't know, who was there? A couple of people who sometimes come to these lives were there the other day. I was in a Zoom and I was using some of these sequins from Picket, the day and night sequins, and I dropped the entire container on the floor while it was open everywhere. So I'm hoping that today I'll be okay because I've got my weekly spill something all over the floor out of my system. Alright, excuse me while I just use the heat tool. Yeah, I've still got little gems on the floor. I can see them glittering at me. They're just sort of laughing at me and pointing because I'm just so clumsy. But I managed to get most of them up off the floor. Because there's no way I'm just going to vacuum them up because that would be a waste of good gems. I mean, can't do that. Although I don't think I'm going to be adding any gems to this card. I don't think so. Alright, almost done. Almost done. One nice little bit up here. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm so glad. I mean, I feel really bad for you, Dawn, but I'm so glad that I'm not the only one spilling sequins all over the floor, quite honestly. Alright, I'm just going to score this one more time on the back. So there's no embossing on this surface because if I did that, I'd probably be scraping embossing off my card. Oh, yeah, see, Karen, yeah, I need a little helper to help me pick up all the stuff that I drop on the floor. I need to borrow Rio to come over and help me cleaning up stuff. Okay, well, I've missed a couple of comments and my mouse is not scrolling, and why is that? Oh, now we go, it's just frozen. I'm just going through some of the comments that I've missed. Oh yes, so yeah, I've seen some of those pre-folded open, like the oval, they're like, so Trisha's talking about a trifold card that basically comes like this, and that the front has an oval die cut out of it, which would fit Easter really well, quite honestly, because I mean you've got a ready-made Easter egg right there. Okay, oh yes, I've seen that We Are Memory Keepers vacuum, and I really like it, but I am very limited in space in this room. So yeah, I need to be careful. Oh, Karen, I've got to show you what I got. And Karen, it's all your fault. Look what I got. Yay. I haven't used it yet. Again, it came this morning. So I just had to share that with Karen because Karen used it in one of her last videos last month, and I was just, I really need that tool. So now I have it. Yay. Okay, so what I need to get now, they're the ones I gave to you, Trisha. I didn't realise that. Okay, so that's why I know them. Okay, yeah, so those of you who don't know, Trisha is one of those people who I actually know in real life. It's really funny doing these lives because there are so many people that I know you and I'm friends with you, but I've never met you. But yeah, sometimes. And there's a couple of people on today that I've actually met in real life, which is very exciting. All right, so what's the time? 20 past 11. I need to get a wriggle on. Okay, so now I have these Zig Clean Colour Real Brush markers. I started off with a set of 60. I now actually have, I think, closer to 90 because I got a whole lot of extras. But not all of them are actually in this box. So, okay, this card I did yellow and orange and green, and I added some blue because it's me and I add blue. I think I'm going to go with something different. And I'm thinking, I know it's meant to be a daisy. I mean, the stamp set is called Barberton Daisy. But there are actually Barberton daisies that are reddy pinky. And yes, I am that nerd. I googled it. So I'm actually thinking I might use like red and pink. Alright, so what have I got? Oh, that's a nice one. So I've got dark pink. Don't think I'll go with the really bright reds. And towards the tips I might go... this is what I always do. I never actually have a plan of exactly which colours I'm going to use when. Alright, this one. Light pink. There you go. Dark pink and light pink. Yeah, daisies are all colours, but there are some species of daisies that only have like a narrow range of colours. We've got daisies in our garden, and yeah, exactly, Carol. They are all the different colours of the rainbow. Everything except for blue, pretty much, because blue doesn't exist in many things in plants. All right, what do I need? I need a water brush. Water brush, ready to go. Water brush needs water in it. I thought I used it just the other day, and I obviously used a lot more water in it than I had thought I had. Alright, this one thing I like about this spray bottle is you can just spray straight into your water brushes. Just making sure I've got plenty in there. And it's just tap water. Nothing special about it. Alright, and I think I might actually stick to the blues in the background as well, because I'm just trying to decide what kind of green to put down here. I might go with a more bluey green just because I can. Why not? I might mix it with a more grassy green. And because both Trisha and I, yeah, exactly, a daisy is not a flower, it is an inflorescence, a dense head of many, many, many flowers. So next time you actually see a daisy, pull it to pieces, pull the actual daisy head into pieces, and you will find that it's made up of a whole lot of teeny tiny flowers. And some of them have huge, big sort of rays coming off them, which are these what we think of as petals, and the ones in the center have like usually 4 or 5 petals around them. Yes, Trisha and I are that kind of nerd. And also, because I'm that kind of nerd, what I was thinking when I was choosing the greens was, do I want to go with a more chlorophyll A type green or a chlorophyll B type green? Yes, I am that much of a nerd. And everybody's just glazing over, their eyes are glazing over at me right now. I get it, I know. Okay, so it's going to be really hard for you guys to see. Oh, what I'm going to do first is, do I have any, I think my dad stole my painter's tape. What I want is some masking tape that's actually a little bit water resistant. I'm going to try, and this is dangerous because I've never actually used this masking tape. This is from Poppy Crafts. I'm wondering if it feels like it could be a little bit water resistant. I don't need it to be like waterproof or anything, but water resistant might be good. It also might be good if I could actually get the end of it off. Oh, there it is. Isn't that ridiculous? They've got this little bit here and I think, oh, that's the end of it. It's not. The end's up here. That's just annoying. Because I might actually, I don't want any other colour to go onto the back. And my other masking tape, I've got so many different types of masking tape. Now, most of the other masking tape I have is not going to resist water at all. This one sort of feels a bit slick. So, I'll let you know how it turns out. Well, you'll see how it turns out, won't you? Okay. I'm going to start with the very dark in these little florets in the centre. Yeah, I'm hoping the masking tape turns out to be a good one, but we shall see. So this, usually when I do, I'm just wondering, now that the video has started, am I able to zoom in? Oh, there we go, I can zoom in. There we go. So you can see a little bit more what I'm doing. Now, remind me later on to zoom back out again, please. Please. I am just going to go at the base of most of these. I'm going to add some of the pale pink first, and I'm going to go back in with a teeny tiny bit of the darker pink once I've spread out the paler pink and see what it looks like, basically. And you can see I'm not really taking that much care because, I mean, personally, I think that's the good thing about watercolour is how loose it looks. And I'm already noticing how much easier this is to get the colour to move on the Bristol compared to the Nina. As I said before, Nina is not designed to take water. Bristol does take water a whole lot better than Nina does, and it's making a huge difference in how easy this is to actually get this colour moving. And my aim is to keep the petals here relatively pale towards the outer edge of them and darken them up towards the centre, but we'll add more colour next go round. My favourite way of using zigs is to use them on like background stamps and just white emboss and just scribble with the zigs and then just spray liberally with water, just cover the entire panel with water and just see what happens and see if I like it, and then add more colour in the next go and just see what I think. But yeah, some stamps that wouldn't work quite as well, so I'm being a little bit more careful with this one. Alright, so that's a fairly good start. It's certainly not the end. I'm just going to zap this with my heat tool. I don't know if you can see, that is quite wet. So I'm just going to zap it with my heat tool one time. I'll be back in a tick. Now, very importantly, that time I used the heat tool, I held the heat tool a lot further away from the image compared to when I was actually melting this embossing powder, because I don't want to remelt the embossing powder, because if you do that, you can end up the embossing powder actually melting so much and it just sort of dissolves into the paper and looks terrible. So if you are using a heat tool to basically dry something that you're watercolouring over heat embossing, just keep that in mind. You don't want to overdo it. Alright, now I'm going to go in with, I'm going in with the same colour that I used in the centre, but I am being very sparing with this because I know from previous experience that this colour goes a long way. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm just being super careful with it. And I'm just going around right at the bottom of each petal. I might go, you can see how this, I don't know if you can see, this one's sort of folding over. I'm just going to go underneath the fold because there would be a shadow there. So there's a few that the petal looks like it's folded over. So I'm just going to add it underneath the fold on those ones. It doesn't really matter if I miss any because I can always, once I've coloured it in and got more colour onto the image, it'll be easier to see where I've missed, if I've missed any. Is that a petal that I've missed completely? Okay. Alright, I've missed a few comments. Good evening, Margaret. Alright. So as you can see, this colour goes a long way. So I'm just going to be super careful with it. See, at this point, if I was to spray the whole panel with water, this colour would just overtake completely. And I don't want it to, because I want that, because this pink is a pink verging on purple. It's very magenta. So it's towards the blue end of the pink scale. Whereas the other pink that I used has a teeniest little bit of yellowish to it. It's still a cool pink, but it's not as cool as this one that I'm adding now. And I want that difference in the two colours to still be there. I don't want it to just be melted in with all of the darker pink. Underneath here. Sorry, I'll stop talking, I'm concentrating. Because this bit I want to be a lot more careful with where the colour goes. Trying not to let it bleed out too far. And at the moment it still looks a bit, I don't know, I think we really need to get the green on the stem and the leaves in there to make it really look more realistic. I love these really big flowers that Picket Fence does. They just, yeah, fill up a card so easily. It's lovely. Oh, hi Holly, nice to see you. Alright, I think that bit's just a bit too, there we go, blend that out a little bit. So now that I've got all that done, I'm just looking at sort of the big picture and thinking, okay, where could I do with a little bit more depth of colour. And where do I just need to stop right now? I'm also looking at, okay, which petals would be in shadow from other petals and therefore would look a little bit darker. And where have I got some harsh lines between the dark pink and the pale pink that I really need to blend out? Alright, I think that'll do me for the pinks. Alright, now let's have a go at the greens. I'm going to start with the chlorophyll B, and then I'm going to add some chlorophyll C. So I'm starting with more of a grass green. In the other one, I used a sort of grass green and a much deeper sort of forest green, but I also added in, it's very hard to tell, but I did actually add in a more olive green as well. It just adds a little bit of sort of brown to the whole thing. And I've realised I've completely missed a petal. Let's go back to the pinks. This petal is actually folded over like this. And I know it's probably hard for you guys to see because it's just white on white and you can't really see the outlines very well, but in person I can see them. I'm not just sort of guessing, because there is a slight colour difference between the white of the cardstock and the white of the embossing, but also I can see the shine of the embossing pattern. Alright, I'm just going to wipe off my water brush to make sure there's no pink on it, because I don't want pink mixed with my greens. Hey Cindy, nice to see you. Hey Kathy. Yeah, I agree. There aren't that many stencils in this month's release, but they're good ones. They're good ones for backgrounds. So again, I'm just going over the whole lot with the first colour just to see what I think. And then I've just picked up a different colour. There's two different grassy greens. One of them is emerald green and one of them is May green. So this one's May green, this one is emerald green. But I'm going to use a mixture of them anyway. The emerald green is slightly more blue. The the May green is slightly more yellow. So this is more yellow green, this is a more blue green. What's this one? This one's the emerald, so I'll add a bit of emerald in here. I might not even, because the emerald is a slightly more blue green, I might actually not use the third one. The third one is turquoise green, which is a very aqua colour. I'll just see how I feel. I'm going to add some more of the yellowy green down here. I might just add some of this one because it is darker, just under there and under there, and just in the centre here, but I don't think I'll blend it out. I'll just think I'll leave it. There it is, just to add some depth. Alright. Oh, again, my mouse is just not moving. I'm just reading some of the comments. Yeah, the one on white does look like it's magic, yeah. But everybody be saying, oh, I wish I could watercolor, but it's really easy for two reasons. One, I find the zigs really, really easy to use for watercolouring. And two, with the white embossing, it makes it really, really easy to stay within the lines. So it's sort of a cheats way of watercolouring. If you ask me to actually do a watercolour from scratch, using actual watercolours rather than like a marker watercolour, I would absolutely fail. So yeah, alright. So I ended up not doing any spraying, so I kind of didn't need this masking tape after all. But my next job is to get out the die, and I'm going to be doing some partial die cutting. Oops, I'm just trying to get the die out of the package, and sometimes the packaging sticks to the adhesive that holds the die in place. Alright, so I'm actually going to use, let's see how good this masking tape is. Look at that, that came off beautifully. Did not tear the paper at all. Let me just zoom you back out again. Oops, not that far. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to reuse this masking tape. I'm going to get this nicely lined up. There is a nice little border around the edge, so you don't want to line it up exactly with the outside line, it's slightly outside of that. Just going to make sure I've got this stuck down really nicely in multiple places so it's not going to budge. And I'm just leaving that other masking tape in place because that's going to give me a guide, because I need to do partial die cutting. So I have like a precision cutting plate here because my die cutting machine is almost dead, and yeah, I need it for pretty much every cut now. But my top plate, now this is an important thing to know about partial die cutting. I'm just going to show you. I have all these plates that I need to do the Jennifer Maguire trick of straightening them out because they're bowed all over the place. But I have two different types of cutting plates. I won't mention the brands, but one type, I'll just show you on the black. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but we'll try. Okay, one type on the edge here, it is tapered. Don't know how well you can see this. So it's a certain thickness here and then it tapers off towards the end. This one has a blunt end, so it doesn't taper off towards the end. Now when I am doing partial die cutting, I want to know exactly where the end of my cut is going to be. Therefore I am going to use the blunt-ended cutting plate, not the one that tapers off, because the one that tapers off, you can never tell exactly whether your cut is going to finish where the thick bit is, or if the cut is going to finish where it tapers off at the end. You've got like and there's about, I don't know, ½ centimetre of give there. Oh yes, I have absolutely seen Jennifer Maguire's tutorial, and I have actually used it in the past. I just haven't used them on these particular plates, but I have done it many times in the past and had great success. Just haven't got around to it with these plates yet. Alright, so I am going to use the plate that has the blunt end, that doesn't taper off at the edge, because I want to know exactly where my cutting is going to end. So what I'm doing, I'm putting that flat onto my base plate, and then I'm going to line up this plate with basically the edge of my card. So I'm only going to get cutting on the front of my card, not on the back of my card. Okay, does that make sense? Then I'm going to carry this very carefully to my die cutting machine and line it up again because it came loose. Let's try that one more time. And I hope you've all got your fingers and toes crossed for me right now. Making sure I've got it straight. Alrighty, and through it goes. There we go. That satisfying clunk of the die cutting machine. Okie doke. So let's take off all of this masking tape and put it over on my little stash of masking tape to be reused. Okay. And oops. It's alright, the masking tape tore, not the cardstock. It's all good. Now, there are now some little bits that are still attached to the card, but all I need to do is get out my paper trimmer and line that up so I've got the edge of the card, and just on those bits that didn't quite cut through, like there, and there's a bit there, and a tiny bit at the top, and there we have it. So that's one part of the card done. All right, so honestly I could leave it like that. I wouldn't be unhappy with that, but I really want to use my stencil from this release, so let's pull that out and put this card together, and then we will be pretty much done. Now, very important thing when you're putting together a trifold card, if you have done what I've done and started with 2 card bases pretty much. I mean, some people actually have card that is a bit longer so they can just make it from one sheet. Oops, that bit's still stuck. Let's pull it off. Oops. But if I do that, oops, wrong way, that way. It might not sit perfectly in place. Now this one's not too bad actually, but sometimes it is a good idea to actually cut a little bit off so the card that is going to go on the inside of the fold of the other one there, I'm just going to cut just a smidgen, just the tiniest little sliver, teeny tiny sliver. Lenny, hello from Antigua. Did I pronounce that right? I never know whether I pronounced that right. There's a there's an ink colour in another brand that is called Antigua, and I never know whether I pronounce it right. So I hope I'm pronouncing it right. All right, so now it sits perfectly in there, and it's not sort of pushing up against anything else. All right, so I am, just to make sure that it's not going to, actually no, I will, sorry, I change my mind all the time. I'm going to stencil the front of this card first. And in order to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, I'm just going to use some temporary adhesive to hold that shut. And I'm not even going to bother with pixie spray today. I am just going to use the same masking tape just to hold. That's, oh, it sounds like how the natives say it. Hey, I got it right. I know I've heard some other people call it Antigua, and I didn't know if that was correct or not. Ah, there you go. Yeah, Nicole last night was talking about the Empress die cutting machine. So that's interesting information to have. I'm just going to tape this down on the top as well, because I don't want it to move. Except I'm actually going to move it up so you guys can see it better. There we go. Alright, and I have my life-changing blender brushes from Picket Studios, and I'm going to grab out, what colours do I want? I said I was going to do blue, and I think I am. I'm going to use Salty Ocean and Prize Ribbon. And I'm also, sorry for all my noise, I'm just grabbing out my inkstand to hold that in place for me. Now, as with the other card, I don't know if you noticed on my other card, I left a bit of a white gap in the centre because I thought, well, I might actually want to stamp another sentiment in there, because you could, and then you could write your main sentiment in the centre there. So I just thought I'd leave that blank, just if I change my mind in the future. So I'm going to use Salty Ocean, and I'm just going to go, oop, that's pretty heavy. Didn't mean it to be that heavy, that's alright. But again, I'm just going to go around the edges and not go right into the centre. But then I'm going to darken up the edges with Prize Ribbon, otherwise known as Michelle Blue, as Tricia said. Seriously, why didn't Tim Holtz get in contact with me before he named that ink? It should be called Michelle Blue. Alright. So I'm just getting a fade towards the centre because I don't want a heavy, harsh line. Right, that'll do for the Salty Ocean, I think. And then some Prize Ribbon with, because of course you know that I have two of the life-changing blender brushes for light, one for light blue and one for dark blue, because they're blues, so they deserve their own. I'm just gonna go in the corners, not too much, but I mean you can never have too much blue, but in this case I just want to keep it a little bit less in your face as such, and just blend it out just around the edges just to get a bit of a fade. Alright, I think that'll do us. I think that will do us. Alright. So let's just put them away. And I'll just get a baby wipe to wipe up on my mat to make sure I don't get any ink. There wasn't much ink anyway. Okay, and always nice to see the reveal of Stencil. I'll put that aside to wipe off later on. Okay. So that's quite good. Just going to remove this temporary adhesive I used to stick it shut while I was ink blending on it. Oh, and I've got a teeny tiny bit of ink where I don't want it, so out comes a little sand eraser. And I'll just get rid of that, and nobody will ever know that it was there. Okay, and then I always go over, whenever I use the sand eraser, I always go over with a white eraser afterwards. Just, it smooths it out just a little bit, because the sand eraser leaves a bit of a rough surface. The white eraser smooths it out a little bit. Alright, so all I need to do now is take my front of my card and just put, so it's going to go like that. I'm just going to use tape runner, adhesive, plenty of it because I don't want it to fall to pieces. I'm just going to pop that in there and hold it up so I get it straight. There we go. And there, actually I'm too far over because it won't close properly. I sliced that tiny little bit off so it would close properly, and it's not closing properly. So that's the good thing about this particular tape runner, is that if you're quick about it, it will come off. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just put that in like that. So I've put the front in so it'll close nicely, and I know that it's going to close nicely. And then I'm going to hold it shut over the glue. And now it'll close perfectly. Alright, so do we want a sentiment? Let's have a look. So in this set we have, I actually used a sentiment on my first card, this one, Embrace the Day, and that is from the Face the Sun set, so it's up there, which is another stamp set that the actual stamp set is not new to Picket Fence. It came out probably a couple of years ago, but the die set is new, so same as this Barberton Daisy one. So what have we got? Fill your heart with love and flowers. My sister, my friend, I miss you quite terribly. This one's got grow through what you go through. Embrace the day. Rise, heal, overcome. Forgiveness and freedom. Spread many seeds of happiness, joy and love. I think I'm going to go with this one, but just to be different, I'm not going to put it on the front. I'm actually going to hide it behind the flower. Just there. So let me just get my MISTI back again. I'll have to clean, because this stamp is still got remnants of Versamark on it. Let me just, and a trick with this to actually line up your sentiment so that you know it's going to be hidden, actually I'll do it this way, is just place your sentiment on the front of the card. Let's make sure I've got it the right way, like that, so I know it's all of that sentiment is on top of the flower now. I'll close that, open it, and then open the card and stamp it there. I think I'm just going to go with black, because I always like a nice, bold, legible sentiment. I'm just going to hold that down so it does not budge in case I need to stamp it twice. So I'm using Picket Fence Intense Black ink, and keeping in mind that this sentiment I've never inked up before, so I'm actually going to, I can see, and this sometimes happens, you get like residue on the stamps after they've been manufactured, and it sometimes causes ink to pill up on the stamp. So I'm just cleaning the stamp, and then I'll ink it up again, and I shouldn't have any issues. Another way you can get around that is ink it up with Versamark and then your coloured ink, and that can do it as well. Yeah, it's not pilling up nearly as much now, but I still need to stamp it twice. I need to re-ink my ink pad. And because I like a really nice dark sentiment, I'm going to do it a third time. There we go. That's good. Alright, so now when I take that out and I close it up, it's completely hidden. So isn't that nice? And if I wanted to, I could then stamp another sentiment in the middle there. Alright, so there's the original. There's my new version. Yeah, I might still add another sentiment there. That's because this one, of course, is just die cut. I actually die cut it out of brown because the black looked a little bit too stark on the front of that one. You can see I've used slightly different colours in the background. I much prefer these blues to these blues. These are slightly more green. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing me make these. They're an interesting card, but there's no, I mean, they're a layer thicker than other cards, but they'll still go in the mail really easily because there's like no foam tape, there's no 3D elements as such, but yeah, it gives you something a little bit different to send. Alright, thank you everybody for sticking with me for this video. I'm sorry I went 3 minutes over time. That's always the way with me. I always go a few minutes over time. Keep in mind that there are more videos coming this week. So we have, I'm not quite sure which day people are on, but there's a video from Daniel. There's I think 2 videos from Karen, and 2 more videos from Nicole to come this week. So there's certainly something to look forward to. So thank you very much everybody for being here and for leaving me lovely comments. Melissa likes the pink one best. Let's have a little vote. Which one do you like best, the yellow or the pink? Tell me which one you like best, yellow or pink. Keeping in mind that Karen is going to be choosing winners at the end of the 7 in 7 video week, and in order to win you have to leave a comment in one of the videos, so the more comments you leave the better your chances of winning. So Keely likes the pink, Karen likes both, pink both, so Donna likes the pink, Xiaomara likes both of them. Pink by the smallest float. I tend to agree, I actually prefer the pink, even though this one is more true to life, because yeah, Barberton daisies are more commonly yellow. Personally I like the pink better just because I like pink, but yeah, Rosalie likes the yellow better, so all good. Alright, thank you very much everyone. I hope to see you back again for another 7 in 7 next month with next month's release, which quite honestly next month's release is a doozy. You're gonna want to see what we've got coming next month, but please enjoy the videos for this month. Alright, I'll see you later everybody. Bye!